Welcome to the Japan Deep Dive Report. Today, we are diving into something that's truly at the heart of Japan, a belief system called Shinto. It's been shaping Japanese culture for thousands of years. But it's a faith that's full of some really fascinating contradictions.
I mean, just look at this. A religion with 8 million gods, but no single founder to kick things off, and no central holy book like a Bible or a Quran. So how on earth does that work? How has it survived and thrived for so long? Well, that's the puzzle we're going to piece together today.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll tackle what Shinto actually is. Then, we'll get into those 8 million gods. We'll look at how they're sorted out, how Shinto mixed with ideas from other countries, and finally, we'll solve that mystery of how you have a faith without a central rulebook.
Okay, let's jump right into the big question. What is Shinto? The key thing to understand is that unlike many religions, it doesn't come from the teachings of one person. Shinto is totally homegrown, indigenous to Japan. It wasn't handed down from the heavens, it literally grew out of the land itself and the people's connection to it.
This makes Shinto what scholars call a natural religion. It all started with a feeling, a really powerful feeling that the ancient people of Japan had for the world around them. The Japanese word for it is ifu. It's this incredible mix of awe, deep respect, and honestly, a little bit of healthy fear for the raw power of nature. Think of a typhoon, an earthquake, or just a massive, ancient tree. That's ifu.
Now, you might have heard Shinto just called animism, the idea that a spirit is in every rock and tree. And yeah, that's definitely part of it, but it doesn't tell the whole story. What really sets Shinto apart are its jinkakushin, and that translates to personality gods. We're not talking about vague nature spirits here. These are full-blown deities with names, backstories, family drama, the whole shebang. The most famous is the sun goddess, Amaterasu Omikami.
And that deep reverence for everything in nature, well, that leads us straight to one of the most famous and frankly mind-bending ideas in Shinto, the millions and millions of gods.
Yeah, 8 million. It's a huge number, right? It just rolls off the tongue. But are we supposed to believe there's an actual literal census of 8 million deities?
So here's the secret. The phrase yaoyorozu no kami isn't meant to be taken literally. It's much more poetic than that. It's a beautiful, old-fashioned way of saying countless, or more than you can possibly imagine. What it's really saying is that the divine, these sacred spirits they call kami, they exist absolutely everywhere.
So where are all these kami? Well, pretty much anywhere you look. That majestic mountain over there, that's a kami. A powerful river, a strangely shaped rock, an ancient tree, all kami. But it's not just things. It can be natural forces too, like the wind or a clap of thunder. And it even extends to people. The spirits of important ancestors or great historical leaders can also be revered as kami.
Okay, so if you have a countless number of gods, you'd think things would get pretty chaotic, right? But actually, there are a couple of main ways that people bring a little bit of order to this massive divine family.
One easy way to think about it is by where they came from. You've got your A-listers, the big mythological gods like Amaterasu, whose stories are in Japan's oldest books. And then you have the local gods, the folk heroes. A god like Ebisu, for example, might be the special protector of a single fishing village. He's a huge deal there, but maybe not so much in a farming town inland.
Then there's another major dividing line, the Amatsukami, who are the heavenly gods, and the Kunitsukami, the earthly gods. The Amatsukami are the ones up in the celestial plane, and they're often connected to the imperial family line. The Kunitsukami are the gods of the land of Japan itself. But what's super interesting is that it's not always a hard and fast rule. The lines can get pretty blurry, and some gods seem to have a foot in both worlds.
Right, so no culture exists in a bubble, and Shinto is no exception. It didn't just stay the same forever. It was constantly evolving, absorbing, and blending with new ideas that came over from the Asian continent.
You can really see how it happened in stages. It started with that pure, homegrown reverence for nature. Then, ideas from China started to filter in, things like yin-yang theory. But the real game changer, the thing that had the biggest impact, was when Buddhism arrived from Korea in the 6th century.
This kicked off this incredible process called Shinbutsu Shugo. It's a big word, but it just means the blending of Shinto and Buddhism. For over 1,000 years, they weren't seen as rivals. It was more like a partnership. The thinking went that Shinto kami were actually local Japanese forms of universal Buddhas. It was so common, you'd see Buddhist temples built right inside Shinto shrine grounds. They just fit together.
And that brings us all the way back to the last piece of our big puzzle. How does a religion hold itself together, pass on its core beliefs, without one single book of rules and truths like the Bible or the Quran?
The answer is actually pretty elegant. In Shinto, the great ancient myths do the job of a sacred scripture. The stories are the foundation.
These essential stories are written down in Japan's oldest books, the Kojiki and the Nihon Shoki. You can think of them as Japan's national epics. Those, along with the Narito, which are very old formal prayers used in rituals, are the keepers of the faith. They contain the stories of how the gods created Japan, and they communicate the core values of Shinto. It's a faith passed down through story and ritual, not a list of commandments.
So let's just pull all that together. What is Shinto at its core? It's a natural religion born from a profound awe of the world. It has no single founder. It sees a countless number of divine kami in absolutely everything. It's always been open to change, blending with other beliefs, and it's guided not by a holy book, but by powerful myths and ancient rituals.
And so we're left with one final, really cool question to think about. In a country famous for its neon cities, bullet trains, and incredible technology, how does this ancient faith, a faith born from forests and mountains, still play such a vital role in the daily lives, the art, and the spirit of modern Japan? That connection, that paradox, is what makes Shinto so endlessly fascinating.